All right, babies, it's that time again. Oh, yeah. We are in Acts 14. No, Romans 14. And in Romans 14, we are looking at Paul going on and on and on and on and on and on, because evidently he doesn't think they're going to get it by a few sentences. And what he's trying to say is, don't judge other people who feel free to do something that you don't feel free to do. Aha. But I can see that easily getting confused with people who think that based on it, we are free to do and act any way we want. No. He's just talking about things that are of a lesser importance, like certain cultural practices. So there's some things that are just inadvisable and are, what's the word? I can't think of it right now. I've taught on it many times. Some things are permissible and some things are, I just can't think of the right term. They're just not conducive to your growth. In fact, they work against your growth. So I don't know what those things are, so I can't judge you for it. You have to determine what that is yourself. But then there's other things that just don't matter, baby. It just doesn't matter. You're going to have to figure those things out on your own. Oh, yeah. Which is part of the beauty, I think, of God, that He wants to have that relationship with us so that He can have that exchange with us, so that we discover what is useful for our growth and what is not useful. So I don't know why he spends a whole chapter saying the same thing over and over again, but he does. And then he ends on verse 23 saying, because anything that is done outside of faith is sin. Oh, baby, there's the big S word. Come on now. Hello. And that statement right there is a stumbling block itself for, I think, a lot of people, because they just, a lot of the legalistic people just like focus in on that in a huge way. totally missing the point that their worship of the Bible is not an example of faith, it's an example of sin. Hello. So a lot of these things, like I said, have to get determined by your relationship with God in His Spirit. So, it's sort of a trial and error thing where we learn how to access divine power so that we can be loving and faithful. And because we find those things to be so dear to us, we're hyper aware of the things that get in the way of them being seen in us. Yeah, baby. So I highly recommend you do what you need to do in your life to get that changed, because it'll make a world of difference. You'll be free and at peace instead of conflicted. And there'll be a sharp difference in how you feel, because whether you study the Bible or not, we all know the difference between being at peace and feeling conflicted. Yeah. Now, I will say that there are things that I've experienced and continue to experience that are in that gray area. And so you just rest in it. You just rest in, you trust that God loves you and He's going to help you to discover every little thing that needs changing in your life so that you can reflect His fullness. And that fullness can be expressed in a range of ways, in areas that are very serious and grave, like believing for children with cancer to be healed, and as childlike and silly as being, free to dance in public or something because you're overcome with the joy of being His child. So that's why it's like so important to be sensitive to where how God's Spirit is resting in you. And the more you allow Him to rest in you, then the more free you are to be who you are without any conflicting thoughts. So you'll know when it's time to pray and believe for a child with cancer, so to speak, because I can't think of anything more serious than that. And when to be joyful and silly in your overwhelming joy that He's yours and you are His.